Hey, my name is Håvard. I work at a company called Revit. Today is Friday. I haven't shaved, and it's time for me to show you how Radar works. Radar is a dashboard, a Revit dashboard that collects data from multiple Revit files and displays important quantities, let's say it like that, in a dashboard. It's a web application. It's our first web application, and it really helps small BIM teams manage and understand how large projects and lots of files are doing without having to open them on a daily basis. So let me show you how it works. It's right here in our Revit toolbar, Radar. When you open it in a file, there's a couple of general settings. I'm not going to touch on naming convention, but potentially Radar can give you feedback on the naming convention for families and types in your Revit file. You have to set up a report directory. This is where the report, every time someone synchronizes Revit file, is going to generate a tiny JSON report. It goes into this folder, and click browse or just paste a folder directory path here and turn it on. There's a couple of parameters here also that you can set up. The most important thing to keep in mind here, for instance, for the BIM manager parameter, is that this points to a project parameter, project information parameter that contains this information. This is not actually where you type the BIM manager's name, but this is where you type the name of the parameter that contains the BIM manager's name in this particular file. Save the settings and do this in every file. This is a different file, same project, all these three files, same settings here, same thing here on this model, Radar settings, so that now when I go back to the first file here and click my synchronize button, it is going to create a report, and this, like, as long as your entire project team has that add-in installed, it's going to create a report every time anyone on the project synchronizes, which will help you understand who is doing what potentially, or who did a mistake, stuff like this. So that's all you have to do. It works on BIM 360 and local central files on a server. And once you've done this, you can open the Radar application. I normally just type the Windows RAD, and there you see it's a standalone Windows application built on Electron. Looks like this. Pretty simple to set up a project. You enter a project name and then just type the same directory path that you set up in the Radar add-in inside Revit. Hit save, and once you do that, the dashboard or the application is going to start loading these loading data from these reports. And this is instantaneous, it's live, so whenever anyone on the project synchronizes, this is just going to update with all the numbers. What you will see first is the dashboard where you see all the files on your project, at least the files that you've set up to collect data to Radar. You will see general information like project name, project number, the project phase, ISO name compliance, whatever that is, who is the BIM manager, coordinator, champion, when it was last synced, who synced last, file paths, and then quantities. Model size, how many approximate purgeable elements is inside the file. So we see that this infill file, which is actually the one that I had on top left, is probably time to go and purge that file because it contains a lot of unused elements. Contains information about levels and grids. I see I have duplicate levels actually in both POCUS and the Void project models. I see I have redundant grids in the infill project. That means that two grids are named different things and placed on top of each other. We can go and look into that. How is the browser organization? I see I have all the correct browser organization set up across all the different files, but there's a couple of views that are not placed on sheets in two of these files, and so on. Sheets, links, imports, CAD links, Revit links, work sets, warnings. This one we really want to expand, so if anyone have any ideas about stuff they want to see, like number of off-axis walls or redundant rooms or whatever, feel free to leave your comments in the section below. And what we have for now is like number of total warnings, mirrored elements, and identical instances. Like identical instances and mirrored elements can sometimes be a showstopper for like IFC exports. So we put them here. Annotations, how many tags texts, how many families, how many in-place families. This I'm not sure is working right now because it shouldn't be 0 on all of them. How many groups, how many detail groups, how many group types and detail group types, how we're doing in phases and design options. And if any of these data are not relevant for you, you can just, like, if you don't care how many schedules you got in your Revit file, you can just click here, the tiny cross next to a row. It's going to take the schedules away from your dashboard. Next up, we can go and look into how you enter into see more specific information for a certain file. You see this text here, the infill. This file is blue, so you can click on it and see more like detailed information about the stuff that's in here, like coordinate systems, what's the east, west, north, south coordinate system, what's the angle to true north, see how we're doing with levels. You see that the elevation here is exported with feet, which is something we'll have to look into for the metric guys out there. Is your level pinned? Is it monitored? And you see all of these are false, so that's actually not happening. But I see that I have a couple of levels here on the wrong work set in this particular file. So I'm probably going to then target my effort and go into that file and make that setting correct. What work sets do you have in your file? Which links and which imports and which work set are they located on, and what's their file path? So you can monitor all of this information remotely, so to speak, without having to go into Revit and look for this manually. It will also like tag and list number of annotation elements, number of tags, which tags, text size, text types are used, line types, families, and the in-place families. You see it's actually none. This one I find extremely handy to use, like how many groups are placed in your project and who are they. Like you see here, if I do an element count, I have a group 9 that's placed 51 different places inside this project. And this is a detailed group, so maybe I should be talking to some people about using detailed families instead. I don't know. And then, yeah, I can do an expanded version, which is what I was seeing now, in a compact version. You can print this to PDF, and you can go and look at the history throughout the project. So the history gets saved like every day. But if you want to see every single file sync, actually Radar stores the reports here in the folder that you assigned. But every single sync on the project is saved by default in the archive subfolder. So if you want to see every single sync, you can just repath the Radar folder path to here and see every sync. But by default, like the Radar keeps track of like the latest sync per day in this list. Anything else? You can set up as many projects as you want. I've got the DG13 project set up here. If you want to add another project, if you're monitoring multiple projects at once or sub-projects in a large project, you can do this pretty easily here. And then go back to the main dashboard using this button, and that's more or less it. I hope you like it. If you want to test it out, there's a 15-day trial on our website. Reop.com toolbox, download Revit application. That's going to download also Radar. And let me know what you think. Have a great Friday and weekend. Tschüss.